Morning everybody. I'm now in Fredrikstad, my hometown. I'm going to take a walk around the town today. More exactly, I'm in Gressvik, which used to be a separate town or village, but now is de facto a suburban. Quite a cozy suburban. And I will take a walk through Gressvik and then take the ferry on River Glomma into the center of Fredrikstad, modern Fredrikstad. The buildings here and the buildings I started with is so-called Sørlandshus, which actually the heritage of it dates back to the time where when Gressvik was a maritime center. Quite a lot of maritime industry here, and later it became a place for sawmills when industrialization started up. As far as suburban goes, I think it's a very cozy place. Wooden houses, lot of greenery, and relatively quiet, I would say. So I'm now dead in the center, standing at the bank of Vaerste, one of the two branches of the river Glomma. This branch of Glomma is 623 kilometers long, and then meet the other branch of Glomma, the Easter River, about a kilometer downstream. In the background, on the other side of the river, is Vaerste, the newest town part. It used to be a shipyard, but the building has now been transformed into an educational institution called the Høgskolen in Østfold. It's sort of a university. There are also quite a lot of new buildings here for housing, offices. We are here now in Vaerste, the central square in this part of town. Those shipyard cranes has actually sparked quite a local debate. Should they stay because they are an industrial historic monument? Or should they be taken down because they can be a risk? Safe at the risk. I hope at least one of them gets to remain here. It's the philosophy of the area written in the slogan. Fra skiftverft til levende byområde, it says. Meaning from shipyard to a living township, basically. And that's the idea here, to develop the whole area. This bridge can be lifted for passing boat traffic. The bridge here is marked off the water level from a big flood in 1914. It's about 2 meters above normal. And behind me here is Plankebæreren, a monument commemorating the workers on the sawmills that they used to line River Glomma back in the old days. In the 15th century it was a royal privilege to run sawmills, so it was very limited where you could do it and who could do it. But later that was restriction was lifted, and after that the sawmill industry flourished here. And also in Gressvik, the place we started this morning. So now walking down Farmannsgata, which is a walking street, and also a shopping street in the heart of Fredrikstad. Problem here is that the city center has started to die out. It's been dying for many years because a lot of businesses have chosen to set up camp outside town in an area of shopping malls. And it doesn't help that the local politicians do their best to make parking difficult and expensive here in town either. Fredrikstad Cathedral, a brick building built in 1879, 1880. But it only got cathedral status in 1969. View across the West River, Vestelva, over to Kråkerøy, and down here is Isegran, which is probably the oldest part of Fredrikstad. I will visit this place later on. Those three-dimensional sculptures of faces are actually based on digital photos taken of real people and then computer processed. Quite a special sculpture, I think. A floating gas station. The shape of the hull tells me this is a very old boat. Probably it was a steamship from before Second World War. 1930s, maybe even older. And it ended up like this. Here is a very nice possibility you have in Fredrikstad to borrow bikes for free. You just download the bike share app and use the telephone to open the lock of this bicycle, and then you can cycle around with it for free and return it to the same place when you are finished with it. So I'm now strolling the old fortress town. Part of it is brick, part of it is wooden. Fredrikstad old town's history started in 1567 when Sarpsborg, the closest town up the river, was burned down by the Swedish. Citizens wanted a safer place, and the King Fredrik II granted the city to be built at this place, which was safer, easier to protect, and also had quite a good access to farmland and fields, grassing fields. Important because quite a lot of the people were farmers.
Ja, da vi ses imorgon.
True idyllic nowadays. If I was to have an apartment myself and settle down in Fredrikstad, I think living here would be quite nice. But I would need quite a lot more cash than I have, because it's not cheap here. Absolutely not at all. Shoemaker workshop. The coziness of this place is a reason enough to take our business here. Fredrikstad's characteristic drawbridge. One of the motifs on the local beacons, actually. So now standing in front of my favorite shop in town, Gulating, which is a specialist beer shop. Saturday today, so I will prepare Saturday evening with a little visit in here, just for watching of. There's a lot of craft beer here, small breweries, Norwegian and other countries as well. Craft breweries has really taken off in Norway last decade. IPA, 54 Norwegian crowns. It's quite expensive in Norway. Legend. It's a Saturday market in the old square. Let's see if I can find some beer snack here.
Välkommen. Ha det bra. Hej hej.
Hallo. Her var det veldig mye godt.
Ja, mycket att välja på.
Veldig mye fristende. Krydderpølse. Hvor mye er det for den?
240.
240? Tar jeg en sånn?
Ja, tack.
Og så pennen. Og så tar jeg denne også.
Så tar du den. Ja. Var det bra så?
Yeah. So got my sausages, got my beer. The Saturday evening is secured. I love that kind of handcrafted drink, handcrafted food. It's expensive, but it's good. Now I'm entering one of the military. 1776. Quite a lot of the structures are still standing in the Fredrikstad old town. Of the military type is from the 1660s. Officers who built the first fortifications in Fredrikstad. Dutch officers in the service of the Danish king. And Norway back then was in a union with Denmark. It was called a union. In effect, Norway was more like a colony. It was supposed to be a union between two equals, but it was not. Norway was the underdog here. Later, the Swedish took over in 1814. First, people here didn't want to let the Swedish in at all, so they came with the army. The army came to the gates, threatened to burn down the whole place. So the commanding officer here surrendered, and that's how old Fredrikstad has survived. It is actually the best preserved fortress town in Scandinavia. Maybe one of the best in Europe as well. Before it leads out towards the Vaterland, which is a suburban that came about in the 1660s when a lot of those present walls were built. 9 town blocks were actually demolished, and the people who were thrown out moved to Vaterland. It was back then quite a poverty place. It was a poor place where craftspeople, sailors, and similar things lived. Today it's a sort of the place, and it's quite expensive there. It's also a very charming little neighborhood, which I will show you in a little moment. And here we arrive in Vaterland. Sort of the slum back in older times. Now it's absolutely not a slum. This place just adorable. It's just plain gorgeous. Sort of rustic harmony in it, I think. It's very well kept. Skippergata, Skipper Street, or Skipper Lane. Probably a hint to the former inhabitants here. Sailors, sea folks were among those who had to leave Fredrikstad in the 1660s, when so much of the town were demolished. There is Borghavn, the commercial port of Fredrikstad. This area. It's quite a busy port, relatively speaking. Now at Smertu, and on my way to Isegran to look at the old boats. This is beautiful. I never sailed on a ship like this before. Only modern sailing vessels. It's really a dream. And a dream that actually might come true, because in 2023 there will be a Cathedral tall ship regatta, and they will come to Fredrikstad. And I do have a sort of a fantasy about joining one of the ships then. It will be a very nice way to visit Fredrikstad again. A good old pirate ship anchor. Some hefty restoration of a, it must be a pre-World War II fishing vessel. Here is the local steamer Valer, which was built in 1892. Still under restoration, and it will be restored with a diesel engine, because it was refitted with a diesel in 1948, just after the Second World War. Just behind the museum port collection, you have this one, Cathedral of Hope, they call it. It is a Christian initiative, but it is an inter-religious project, and one of the things they want to do with this is to put focus on the ocean, pollution of the ocean. The roofing is made of plastic tiles, of plastic collected from the sea. So it's a sort of a focus on both the plastic problem and the need to do something, and also the possibility of actually using that plastic as a resource. Fredrikstad's signature water wheel. It's a reconstruction, not the original. But it used to be several mill wheels in this area, creating power for civilian and military use alike. This is quite a funny little detail in the shadow of the fortification here on Isegran. Those stone pillars, this one and those over here, are actually moorings for ships, and the wooden pillars, small wooden pieces sticking out of the water, remains of harbor facilities. Good food in the form of the sausage I bought today, together with the beer, is the reward for my extensive hiking today, making this video. It was a fun experience to see my own city through the eyes of a tourist, something I had never done before, and it was a nice experience. And maybe I can tease somebody to come and visit Fredrikstad themselves. It's a sweet place to visit. And the Cathedral event I mentioned earlier today, in 2023, in June or July, I don't remember, would be a very good time to do it. And I hope you enjoyed watching the video as well, and that maybe you would consider watching my next video as well. And with that, I say good evening, cheers and bon appetit.